How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. The rumors continue to heat up surrounding the Lakers and what moves they plan to make during free agency, and this time the rumors have linked them back to their former number 2 overall draft pick, Lonzo Ball. And today we'll talk about what a trade for Ball might look like, if it would be worth it, if he would be a good fit for their team, and how exactly it would affect their plans moving forward. While there quietly have been rumors here and there linking Lonzo Ball back to the Lakers during the past few months already, none have been all that reliable. And while we know how much reporters love to make up rumors about the Lakers, this time around they do seem to hold at least a little bit of truth. Practically every news outlet is reporting on them, which really is not all that surprising given that both the Lakers and Lonzo Ball have a very large following. And with news coming out that the Lakers are reportedly looking for a quote-unquote difference-making playmaker that would make Lonzo a candidate. He has always been a difference-making playmaker, but he is finally beginning to become a more well-rounded player. Along with his playmaking ability, he has now become a much improved three-point shooter. He has made changes to his shooting form over the years and now seems to have found a shot that really works for him. And that can be shown by him now having shot 37.5% or higher from the three-point line in each of the past 2 years, while taking over 7 per game on average. That is a very noteworthy improvement from the 31.5% that he shot from the three-point line during his time in LA. He is without a doubt an improved shooter, which is likely a primary reason for the Lakers being interested in bringing him back. Because one thing they lacked heavily throughout the year was three-point shooting from their point guard. They brought in Dennis Schroeder to their team, but he proved to be a poor fit on the court with LeBron and Anthony Davis, and largely because of his inability to be a reliable three-point shooter. I think that has become clear to them that whoever they put on the floor at point guard with LeBron and AD needs to be able to be a good three-point shooter and be able to play off the ball. And Lonzo actually did a lot of that this year with the Pelicans. He had to share point guard duties with both Eric Bledsoe and Zion Williamson, which often left him playing off the ball. While it did hinder his playmaking ability, it helped showcase his ability to be an effective off-ball player and not be reliant on being ball dominant, which would contribute to why the Lakers might want to bring him back to their team. I think it is pretty clear that he would theoretically be a good fit for their team, but what would a trade actually look like to acquire him? And yes, they would have to trade for him, as they would not be able to sign him in free agency. They are practically already over the salary cap, and then when you take into consideration the cap holds of their own free agents that they have, they do not have enough money to outright sign him. And with Ball being a restricted free agent, in order to acquire him, they would have to sign and trade for him. The most common trade idea being thrown around to acquire him is by sign and trading Dennis Schroeder along with their 2021 first round draft pick. Basically, they would be swapping point guards with the Pelicans, along with throwing in a draft pick to make it more appealing. And with both Dennis Schroeder and Lonzo Ball being projected to make around the same amount of money, the trade would be able to work financially. And with the Pelicans reportedly not being willing to match a large offer sheet for Lonzo, it would make sense for them to sign and trade him, in order to avoid losing him for nothing. However, that does not guarantee that the Lakers would be where he gets traded to. There are many other teams with rumored interest in him around the league, including Chicago, New York, and the LA Clippers. Both Chicago and New York could create enough cap room to outright sign him to their team, so there is the danger of that happening too. And then we also need to take into consideration where Lonzo actually wants to play. While he is a restricted free agent, that does not mean he has no control over where he ends up at all. Rather than letting the Pelicans find a sign and trade partner for him, he could outright sign an offer sheet with a team like Chicago or New York that has enough money to sign him, which is a legitimate possibility. New York is an upcoming team with a need at point guard, and that could make them an appealing destination for him, and that is where it becomes far from a guarantee for the Lakers to have a good chance at acquiring him. And with that, they would also need both Schroeder and the Pelicans to have a mutual interest in one another, because if they don't, a sign and trade would not even work anyways. Schroeder is an unrestricted free agent, which means he can go anywhere he wants, and then even if he would be okay with being traded to New Orleans, that does not mean that the Pelicans would even want him. They already have a three-point shooting problem at point guard with Eric Bledsoe, which does not make Schroeder an ideal trade target for them. Maybe if they traded Bledsoe and Steven Adams, it would become more likely, but otherwise, I do not see them being all that intrigued by acquiring Dennis Schroeder. I mean, I get that they would want to avoid losing Ball for nothing, but then again, you have to remember it's the Pelicans we're talking about here. They have been notoriously difficult to trade with, and I would not doubt if they'd want a package of Kyle Kuzma and Talen Horton-Tucker, along with maybe a draft pick in return for Lonzo Ball, and that is where things will become really difficult, as not only would the Lakers not want to do that, but it would take time away from them to focus on other free agents. The Lakers got caught in that trap a couple of years ago by waiting on Kawhi Leonard in hopes that he would join their team, but instead, he ended up joining the Clippers, and it left them with very little to pick from in free agency. They cannot afford to let that happen again, as they have a lot of holes to fill on their team. Currently, they only have 5 players under guaranteed contracts. So, after taking all of that into consideration, would Lonzo Ball be an ideal trade target for them? No, I would not call him ideal. It is far from a guarantee that they would be able to trade for him, let alone him even wanting to rejoin their team. Then, if they would wait around and try to negotiate a deal to acquire him, they would be wasting time that could otherwise be used on trying to fill out their team with available free agents. And then, even if they were able to acquire him, it would leave them hard-capped. Any team that acquires a player through a sign and trade becomes hard-capped, which, if you do not know what hard cap means, it prevents a team from going over the luxury tax apron set around $142 million. That would be a big issue for them, as it would not leave them with much wiggle room to financially fill out their team, and potentially even force them to have to let a few of their own free agents walk. In conclusion, would Lonzo Ball be a good fit on their team? Yes, I think he would actually be a great fit on their team, and he would be a player that I'd like to see them bring back. However, would he be a good trade target? To that, I would have to say no. Acquiring him through a sign and trade would be very difficult between having to negotiate with New Orleans, along with Lonzo even being willing to play for them again after being traded by them only 2 years ago. There are obviously a lot of things out of their control when it comes to acquiring him, which does not make him an ideal trade target. I definitely understand the idea of wanting him back, but it's a lot more complicated than just thinking he would be a good fit for their team. And even if they were able to acquire him, they would still have to deal with the repercussions of being hard-capped. Overall, I think if they could make it happen very quickly, then they should go for it, but if they see any complications coming with it, then they should avoid wasting time by trying to trade for him. But what do you guys think? How do you feel about the idea of the Lakers trading for Lonzo Ball? Do you think they could make it happen, or do you think it would be too complicated to make work? Or do you not even believe in the rumors at all? Let me know what you think about all of this by commenting down below, and we can talk about it there. That will do it for this video though. Thank you to everyone who took the time to watch until the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please remember to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on notifications to get notified right away when I drop a new video. And if you want to stay up to date on all my immediate thoughts and moves around the NBA, be sure to follow me on Twitter too. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.